Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney, his father was the governor of Michigan, is taking the first step toward a presidential run. Here's the announcement.
It's time that we put America back on a course of greatness with a growing economy, good jobs, and fiscal discipline in Washington.
Republican Romney announced the formation of an exploratory committee in a video statement to supporters. You remember that he ran for president back in 2008, did not get the nomination. John McCain got the nomination, but Mitt Romney criticizing President Obama's handling of the economy.
President Obama's policies have failed. He and virtually all the people around him have never worked in the real economy. They just don't know how jobs are created in the private sector.
That's Mitt Romney at 8 minutes after the hour, live in our American Metal Roof studio. We're just down the street from the Capitol in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building, and I hope you'll join us one of these mornings for a cup of coffee. We have a coffee house attached right to the studio and ready for you. A super jumbo jet and a smaller commuter plane are grounded at Kennedy Airport in New York. They clipped one another on a taxiway. Officials say both planes slightly damaged. One is an Air Force Airbus 380. That's the largest passenger aircraft in the world. The other one was a little Comair commuter plane, and if you're able to see the video, you'll find it unbelievable. Olympic legend Carl Lewis has decided to run, this time running for the New Jersey State Senate as a Democrat. Athlete getting into the mix. A pair of federal judges on Monday ruled that Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss cannot back out of the settlement deal they made a long time ago. They made a lawsuit now charging Mark Zuckerberg, saying that he stole their idea for Facebook, but they settled a long time ago and they wanted to back out of that deal and go back for more cash, and the judge says not so fast. Now, you are now paying $4 a gallon for gas in many parts of Michigan. AAA's daily survey yesterday found the average price at $3.86. It hit $4 nearly everywhere else in the state. So we are paying more than the national average. Unleaded in parts of Oakland and Wayne counties was even higher at $4.09 if you're near the Detroit area. Prices are about $1 per gallon higher now than they were a year ago, and some people are predicting $5 a gallon by the middle of summertime. Back to the bargaining table for Grand Rapids city officials and employees. The union representing the city's non-uniformed workers rejected a contract offer that called for a pay cut, higher health insurance payments, and increased pension contributions. That seems to be the way things are going these days. Union leaders say members can't afford cuts that deep. But who can? The union will continue to work under a contract that expired last year. Nobody wants to pay more for their health benefits. Nobody wants a pay cut. Nobody wants to contribute more to their pension, but that seems to be the model for getting out of the mess we're in, doesn't it? A Detroit man survived a 14-story fall out of a window in the apartment on the city's east side. He was found on his back in a landscaped area next to the Regency Towers building, and he told a witness he'd just fallen out of his bedroom window. Was it an accident? Was it a suicide attempt? Or was he pushed? 14-story fall. And he survives. Gary Austin is the anchor man this morning. He is with us here, too, in our American Metal Roof studio. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. This update is service of our friends at American Metal Roofs. Check them out. Terrific website, AmericanMetalRoofs.com. You'll never, ever have to worry about the weather again with a beautiful guaranteed American Metal Roof. You can call them, too, 877-569-4700, 877-569-4700.
Gary, there's a Michigan family upset with the Applebee's chain. Do you know why?
Yeah, it's really something. A story out of Madison Heights. And, mix-ups can happen, and this is just one of those cases.
Here's the mother. She says that margarita mix was put into her child's sippy cup at Applebee's. Here's what she said.
He was saying hi and bye to the walls, and he eventually laid his head down on the table, and we thought maybe he was just sleepy.
She rushed him to the doctor. He had a blood alcohol content that was pretty high. He's going to be okay. Applebee's has apologized. And the mother says, wait a minute, there's no reason to confuse the table's drink order and put margarita mix in a sippy cup.
Yeah,
nobody at the table ordered alcoholic drinks. We can't. So he definitely shouldn't have received one.
It's one of those mix-ups. Sad thing. Good to hear the kid's going to be okay.
The president is going to reveal his budget idea apparently tomorrow. And when are we going to see higher taxes in that mix. It could be tomorrow, huh?
You know, it could happen, and we're also getting more details. You know, last week, lawmakers agreeing to that $38 billion and change cut overall to a wide array of programs. Now we're getting details as to which programs are being targeted, and here's a part of the list. We have the EPA, the Department of Agriculture, National Institutes of Health and Department of Defense, and there are others on the list too, but boy, there are a lot of Republicans and some Democrats who say, you know, the cuts were such that they just weren't deep enough. And in the big picture, and we're talking about trillions, millions, is a mere drop in the bucket. So whether or not this is enough to really steady the ship and keep us on a good course until we hash this out again in September, because we've got to do it all over again then, it's going to be hard to tell. You know, it's hard to imagine, when you really think about it, that 40 cents out of every dollar this country spends is borrowed. And it's hard to imagine we can continue to sustain that without doing something more than we've already done. Well, I don't know. It's a tough problem.
The AP is saying that the president wants to go back and review the possibility of ending the Bush-era tax cuts. You remember, it's households earning over $250,000 a year. He wanted to get rid of it. He decided to put off getting rid of it, and now he wants to revisit the idea of ending that tax break for people. Governor Snyder has appointed former Republican National Committeeman Chuck Yob to the Mackinac Island State Park Commission. He joins Richard Manoogian, who was reappointed to serve a 6-year term, and Chuck Yob will get that gig. Bart Stupak has joined a lobbying firm, by the way, the former congressman. It's a Baltimore, Maryland-based Venable LLP. And he's also a fellow at the Institute of Politics, Harvard University, John F. Kennedy School of Government. So former Congressman Stupak is keeping busy.
Yep, a lot of experience there. If you're what the State Department of Transportation's doing, got a new video on YouTube explaining, first of all, how potholes form and detailing how we can go about reporting these potholes as MDOT tries to go about the business. And what a big job of, locating them, that's probably the easy part, getting them filled and finding the money to do it. And there are plenty of them statewide. You know, that's a big job, but at least kind of a unique approach here. We can go on YouTube, check it out, see a little history of potholes, how they go about becoming potholes.
Fascinating
in the first
stuff.
place, and getting
I
them
can't
fixed,
wait.
yeah.
I'm going to spend the rest of the day doing that.
Well, you know, it's important because we know that, well, no, seriously, though, potholes, they do a lot of damage to our cars. And for those of us, you know, MDOT and crews, they can't go everywhere. So, if you know, they kind of like us being, you know, sort of like, you know, an extension of their eyes to keep an eye out and report. I think that's a good idea.
You're going to put your teeth back in after you hit one, too.
Ooh, I know. Some of them are pretty big.
Next.
Yes, next. This is really incredible. A new documentary film is out claiming the nails used to crucify Jesus have been found. You can imagine that. The nails of the cross indicates, that's the name of this new documentary, indicates 2 iron nails were found in an ancient tomb in Jerusalem, and they are believed to be that of the Jewish high priest, and you can help me out here, MPS, because I know you're more of a theologian than I am, Caiaphas.
Caiaphas.
Yeah. Who, in the New Testament says, delivered Jesus to the Romans. So boy, what an artifact that would be, if in fact that's true. And I don't know how they go about determining if in fact they are the nails, but you know, technology being what it is today, you know, wouldn't surprise me. You know, they have ways to be able to determine that.
They have, most parishes, or many of them, have what are called relics, and they claim to be a sliver of the cross. Now, I don't know if they've been tested or anything like that, or how you prove it, or I guess you go on faith, but it's a little tiny sliver, and they bring them out during Lent and Holy Week and that kind of thing. So, but to have the actual nails would really be, I don't even know how you would prove that, but proof isn't always necessary when it comes to faith.
You know, that's a very good point. Good point.
The Dow closed up 1 point yesterday. The S&P fell 4. The NASDAQ dropped 9 points. But Tax Freedom Day is finally here. Do you know what that means?
It is. That means for every from day one, January 1st, if I understand it right, from January 1st right up until now, we've paid all of our obligations by way of taxes.
Now, from here on, you can keep your own money.
What a deal. I like that. Hey, you know, we have faith in the value of home ownership. You'd think that quite a few would be, well, discouraged because, you know, the situation with loaning money and then all the foreclosure problems and all that, people would be a little soured on owning a home. But according to this new study, a 5-year slump in the real estate market is finally maybe starting to turn around a bit, and this study finds, done by the Pew Research Center, that quite a few, most still have faith in home ownership eventually, would still like to eventually, for those who don't own their own home right now, would eventually like to find themselves in that position someday.
17 minutes after the hour, Fiat has boosted its ownership stake in the Chrysler Group by 5%. They met benchmarks set by the federal government. So Fiat now owns 30% of Chrysler, and it can raise the ownership up to 35% if they can make a 40-mile-per-gallon car in the U.S. 18 minutes after the hour, is Donald Trump serious? Could he be president? Find out in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields. The NASA administrator, Charles Bolden, is going to participate in a ceremony today at the Kennedy Space Center. It's the 30th anniversary of the first space shuttle launch. During the 1 p.m. ceremony, he and the Kennedy Center director, Bob Cabana, are going to honor the shuttle's workforce dedication. It's made it possible to explore space, and during that ceremony, it's going to feature an astronaut from the first shuttle mission. There will also be an announcement as to where the 4 space shuttles will go, which institutions will get a space shuttle for permanent display. That's going to be at about 3 o'clock today. There will be a teleconference as well to explain why they picked the places that they picked. It's all going to happen very close to the hangar for Shuttle Atlantis. That's called Orbiter Processing Facility 1. And STS-131, the mission coming up to the International Space Station, is the final flight of the Space Shuttle program, and that will happen today. And we'll find out Dayton, Ohio is in the mix as a potential place where you'll be able to walk up and maybe even go inside one of the orbiters that went into space. And Chicago is also looking for the ability to have one of these. It's going to cost those facilities millions of dollars, but just think if from Michigan you could hop in your car, take a drive, and see up close and personal one of the space shuttle orbiters. That'd be pretty exciting indeed. President Obama is trying to beat the rap. People say he's a golf addict. He spends a lot of time walking on the links, and he says the reason he does it is because he can't go anywhere else. In other words, he can't go for long walks, he can't go to the car wash or the grocery store, and he's been talking with Hearst magazines, and he's been saying that he misses being anonymous. Quote, I miss being anonymous. I miss Saturday morning rolling out of bed, not shaving, getting into my car with my girls, driving to the supermarket, squeezing the fruit, getting my car washed, taking walks. I can't even take a walk, he says. So golf is the only excuse he has to get out for 4 hours at a stretch. And he says that he just wants to go to Central Park in New York and watch folks passing by and spend the day watching people. He says he misses that. The President of the United States does. In case you're wondering what's on his mind these days, I mean, he's bummed out. He'd like to be anonymous again. That's never going to happen ever again, ever, for President Obama. Scott Pelley, less than anonymous. He works at 60 Minutes, and he might be the next CBS Evening News anchor. He is in line to succeed Katie Couric, and the network maintains there are other candidates, but the insiders are saying it's Scott's to lose, according to CBS. Some people say going to the CBS Evening News from 60 Minutes is a demotion. Real estate developer, which is a funny way to refer to him, Donald Trump, media star, you name it, is blaming President Obama for the rising price of oil. He says this country can never, ever recover if oil prices continue to go up. It's the lifeblood of the country, is what Donald Trump says. He's considering running for president. He's going to decide before June, apparently, whether or not he's going to officially run. He has been quoted as saying that he is President Obama's worst nightmare, that he's the one the Obama administration definitely does not want to run against. And the Obama administration actually took a swipe back at him this week. Donald Trump has also been questioning whether President Obama's birth certificate is authentic. And so Donald Trump makes a lot of noise. He gets a lot of attention. He's been doing an awful lot of interviews these days. And Bill Cosby, for one, is saying he's no fan of Donald Trump. Bill Cosby has said that Trump ought to stop running his mouth and make a decision whether or not he's going to run. And Donald Trump says he's no fan of Bill Cosby's either. So they're having a little celebrity spat, if you will. He thinks that Donald Trump. Yesterday we talked to Congressman Tim Walberg, too, and he says he's not surprised people are interested in Donald Trump. They're frustrated. That's all there is to it. Guido Lombardi is on the other end of our line, a former executive director of the International Council for Economic Development, and apparently knows Donald Trump very well, was with him last week. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How long have you known the Donald?
Well, a long time. I think so. First time we met was sometime in like 1992. Before he had the problems, and then after, and then again. And I see him here in Palm Beach quite often.
Is he a good friend to have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has his limitations, like we all do. Like Clint Eastwood used to say, a good man knows his own limitations, and that's probably one thing, that makes him unique. Maybe sometimes he doesn't know what his limitations are, but other than that, he's a great guy.
Seems to know how to surround himself with capable people, though. That's one talent of leadership, isn't it?
Absolutely, and personally, I think that he is a leader. He's been demonstrating that in just about every enterprise he's been doing, and he's definitely a leader. There's no question about it. Everybody that knows him, everybody that even watches him from far away can tell that.
Okay, I'm going to ask you two separate questions, if I could, sir. One is he qualified, Donald Trump, to be president of the United States?
I would say that, given the present state of affair of this country and the present administration, I would say that he is highly qualified for the position. Given what we have right now, and given the fact that he was the present holder of the White House, is the way he was elected, I would say just about anybody can be president these days.
Well, therefore, I guess the second question doesn't matter. You say he is electable, even with all the rough and tumble skeletons in his closet that are likely to come forward in the vetting process.
Well, I guess I wouldn't call it skeletons. I would say that we all make mistakes. Donald, as a businessman, and like anybody else that has been in business, cannot have a 100%, clean records. I mean, he made mistakes. I think that goes with being in business. I wouldn't call it skeletons.
I worked on a couple of books for him, and I met him just a couple of times. I don't know him like you do. I've only know him from handshakes. But you would be comfortable then with the Donald as the president?
I think he will do a great job.
Okay.
I think that what we need right now is somebody that really understands economics, that really understands business, that really understands how to put this country back in shape, both economically, but also in terms of, respect in the rest of the world.
Some people say he's not seriously considering running. He just likes the attention and the publicity. What do you say to them? What do you know? Do you think he really means he may run? He's polling awfully nicely.
I think that he is very serious, and I think I would take him at face value when he says, I am considering. I think he's considering very seriously, and I don't think he's just like doing it for the publicity or anything like that. He's got enough. I mean, he doesn't need this to add 0.1% on the ratings of The Apprentice or anything else. Real estate, nobody's going to buy anymore because he's running for president. If anything, the business is going to suffer, and actually he knows that.
Well, that's the question. I mean, some people get in the White House and they find out it's a golden cage. You heard me say just a minute ago that President Obama misses being anonymous. He can't go anywhere, can't do anything. Donald Trump's used to calling his own shots.
I wish he would. I wish he would play golf 24 hours a day. We would probably be in a much better shape.
You, we can read about it in your work, The Value Matrix. Go to thevaluematrix.com to connect with Mr. Lombardi. But I understand that you had the occasion to be received by Pope John Paul II. What was that like?
It was a real lifetime unique experience. The man was something beyond words. I wouldn't say that he was a statesman before being, a pontiff, a pope. He was somebody that had to manage a very, very difficult situation for many, many years in Poland under a communist regime where just the wrong word could actually get you killed instantly. He had to lead a movement of Catholics in a Poland that, let's remember, at that time was 100% in communist totalitarian hands, and where people disappear, from day to night. So he made it through, and then eventually, from Rome, he continued the fight. And I think it's thanks to him and thanks to Ronald Reagan that eventually the wall, fell. And even though Russia still has a few problems, but it's a lot better than it was before, thanks to him.
TheValueMatrix.com is where we can connect with you. Thanks for your special insight into both Donald Trump and Pope John Paul II. He's Guido George Lombardi at TheValueMatrix.com. Your new matrix might include budgeting more for gas every week or every month. Nancy Kane from AAA has a little report for us about the prices around the state. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. You need to grab your crying towel for this.
Uh-oh, I filled up at Woods Okemos Marathon at about, 11 o'clock yesterday morning. I think I beat the bell. What's it now?
Well, on average across the state, about $3.86, which isn't quite as bad. It's up 11 cents from last week, and it's up almost $1 from the same time last year. But we've seen some stations that have crossed the $4 mark. Luckily, like Illinois, to our neighbor, they are officially $4 a gallon. So we're not there yet.
But there are some people saying it could be over $5 by the middle of summer, and we're getting to the eventually to the holidays and that kind of thing. Do you fear that? I do.
Well, $5, no. I think $5 is beyond the pale at this point. I mean,
Do
prices
you?
are up. Crude oil
right.
prices are up on average. They're about $112 a barrel, and they're at 2.5-year highs. So it's not surprising our gas prices are as high as they are. But hopefully things will settle down a little bit. We are coming into our summer driving season, but there are indications that people are not driving quite as much, and people are being smarter. They're combining their errands. They're trying to be more fuel efficient. They're slowing down. When you come to stops, slow down gradually instead of slamming on your brakes or standing on your gas pedal. People, this is money coming out of their pockets, and no one's very happy about paying these prices.
I'm going to get a Fred Flintstone car where your feet come out the bottom of the floor and you just run as fast as you can, because this is getting expensive, and we'll keep in touch with you if that's okay. That's Nancy Kane from AAA Gas Prices. Is it GasBuddy.com where you can go and see the gas prices around the state? I think it is. We'll check that out and see where the lowest and the highest points of the state are as soon as we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields on Tuesday. Well, a meeting that you might have coming up soon is with your CPA, because we're getting closer and closer to the deadline now, although the deadline is pushed back a little bit this year. Craig Godfrey from Godfrey Weisberg CPAs and Advisors knows what I'm talking about. I'm talking about tax day, the day that you have to file. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you doing?
I'm surprised you have even a second to talk to me as close as we are to the deadline. Are you really burning the midnight oil these days?
Oh, we are burning a little bit of that midnight oil, that's right. But we do have until April 18th this year because of Emancipation Day in Washington, D.C.
What does that mean? That's a holiday, so there are nobody's working, that kind of thing?
That's right. So on Friday, the actual date, the usual date of due date for the individual income taxes. That's a holiday in Washington, D.C., so they gave everybody until the next business day, which is Monday the 18th.
There are people who will wait till the last second and say, wow, I've got 3 more days. No sense to hurry, but that doesn't really make sense, does it?
No, because if you rush, then you may miss some well-deserved deductions and end up paying more income taxes to the federal government.
All right, so tax freedom. Oh, by the way, Tax Freedom Day is here, too. As of today, you are officially free of your tax burden, presuming you've been working since the first of the year. Isn't that astonishing?
That is astonishing, that's right. And some of us may wish that maybe that occurred back in February or even March. So, but if you reduce today from January 1st to a percentage. Today is about 28% of the year gone by already. So
Okay, so you're working about 28%. 28% of your money, 28% of your year is spent, doing your work for the government.
that's right. That's right, on average.
Okay, so imagine if you lived in a condo development and you had to, as living there, you participate in leaf raking and that kind of thing. You would spend almost a third of your time living there doing that sort of stuff.
That's right.
That's a silly analogy. I don't know, but it seems to make sense to me.
But it could make sense. That's right. But yep. So that's what that's our time spent working for our federal government.
Well, today is the Freedom Day. That means from now on, all your money is yours. If you want to look at it that way, just make sure you file by the 18th and not the 15th, says
That's
Craig
right.
Godfrey.
And go out and spend that money, right?
Spend it and put it back in the economy. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
All right. He's a cheerleader and a CPA. He's Craig Godfrey at Godfrey Weisberg CPAs and Advisors. He happens to be in the Lansing area, but you can get him wherever you are in the state. The gas prices are something you're probably going to be spending money on. We have now, from GasBuddy.com, the statewide report. The lowest gallon of gas you're going to find happens to be in the Lansing area at Sam's Club. Lansing South, it's on Edgewood Boulevard, $3.62 a gallon. That's way below the average. The highest gas in the state also happens to be in the state capital. That's $4.19 a gallon at the BP in West Lansing on Saginaw Highway near 196 and Commercial. So you're all the way up to $4.19. In the same town, you're down to $3.62. But I think, isn't it true that if you buy gas at Sam's Club, you have to be a member of Sam's Club? I think that's the case. We'll keep monitoring for you and let you know more about where you can get decent gas at a decent price, if it's at all possible, of course. 43 minutes after the hour, Prince William and his fiancée, Kate Middleton, are inviting some former love interests to their upcoming wedding. The Daily Mail says that 4 past girlfriends are going to be there, and Kate has included 2 of her former flames on the guest lists. What do you think about that? When you got married, did you invite your old boyfriends and girlfriends to your wedding? Interesting idea, an interesting question. And our number is 888-900-9966. Do you think that's weird, or do you think that's appropriate? 888-900-9966. Never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note. Shannon Doherty is 40 today. She's really 40. Beverly Hills 90210, Charmed, and North Shore. And oh, yes, don't forget Brooklyn Decker is 24 today. Chuck, Ugly Betty, and just go with it. Dave in Dimondale is ringing in at 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Did you have old girlfriends at your wedding, Dave?
Yes, I did.
Did you really? How did no problems, no arguments, no fights?
Well, they wanted to make sure I was really off the streets.
They were doing a public service.
That's right.
I see. Okay, fair enough. What else is cooking?
Well, I just thought I got all excited this morning. You said it was Tax Freedom Day today, because it normally, in the past, it's always been sometime in early May, and then I heard you say it was just the federal government. So we've still got a month's worth of paying taxes to state and local governments, it sounds like.
Well, in that case, we better get back to work.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. So I just thought I'd call. I didn't want anybody to get too excited today and go out and spend all that money that they really still owe the state and
would you consider Donald Trump a viable candidate for president?
Personally, no. No.
Too much of a sideshow?
Well, I think he's got a lot of baggage you bring in. If you really go back into his history, he's been bankrupt a couple times. He's the only guy in the world that ever bankrupted a casino.
Yeah, that's not easy to do, is it?
Yeah, that's a little scary, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, these days bankruptcy is a badge of honor.
So.
Thank you, Dave in Dimondale. You can always get us, anybody listening right now, at 888-900-9966. We're live in our American Metal Roof studio, just a couple of blocks from the Capitol here, in fact, but heard statewide on radio stations all across Michigan and seen on Fox 47. Back in a flash with the most green car you can drive. See you then. 10 minutes before the hour, Michael Patrick Shields heard all across the state of Michigan. Gas prices are through the roof and maybe going higher. I happen to be test driving right now from Hyundai of Lansing, the 2010 Hyundai Santa Fe. It's a midsize SUV. Pretty good on the gas mileage. It's only $18,995 from Hyundai of Lansing. The Blue Book value is $22,355, and in this case, you can get it for well below that wherever you are in the state of Michigan. She'll deliver it to you if you like. Just go to Hyundai of Lansing. They have pre-owned vehicles of every variety, domestic and foreign too. And, of course, the Hyundai doing very well these days. 9 minutes before the hour, that's in Grand Legend. Cheryl Freeborough will be very happy to take your call. We welcome this morning Micah Muzio, the managing editor, in fact, for Kelly's Blue Book. Good to talk to you.
Hey, Michael, good to talk to you. Here we are.
Thank you.
Talking green cars.
That Blue Book value, that seems to be the almost like the Band-Aid, if you will. It's more than just a brand. It is the brand when you're trying to gauge the value of cars, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. I mean, the Kleenex, the Coca-Cola, it is the gold standard for vehicle evaluations. So, yeah, happy to be here talking about green cars today, though. You mentioned fuel economy, and you talked a little bit about your Hyundai. So we're talking fuel economy today. That's the big deal with our green cars.
Well, it's a good time because gas prices have gone up over $4 here in Michigan. And if you want to get a car that gets great gas mileage and is nice for the economy, just so happens to be, what would you pick?
Well, we've got some great choices, and let me just preface this by saying we wanted to choose cars for our green car list that weren't just about fuel economy, although that's an overriding factor, but also cars that we would suggest our family and friends drive. So cars that you would actually want to drive, not just have to drive because of fuel economy.
All right.
So let's dive in with one car that I think is really cool, which is the 2012 Ford Focus. And one of the things that's so neat about the Focus is that it's now on the same platform as the European Focus. So what you get is European ride and handling and this really cool European styling. So it's a lot of cool crammed into a compact package. And when you move inside, there's some really great stuff happening in here. They've softened up a lot of the materials. You've got this great stitching, so a lot of style. And then there's a good dose of technology, too. I don't know if you've had a chance to toy around with Ford's Sync system.
Yeah.
But you can just, it's voice activation. And so you can, if you want to listen to Starland vocal bands, not that you would, but if you did, you just say that and it'll pop up, assuming that's on your iPod. I mean, some really great technology in here. Fuel economy for the Focus is 38 miles per gallon on the highway, 28 in the city. And there's even an SFE package which improves economy even more in the sedan, up to 40 miles per gallon. It's a great economy there. But are you would you describe yourself as a style-focused guy?
The other day I saw a Chevy Volt over, in fact, I was pumping gas, if you can believe it. It's the irony of it, at Woods Oaklands Marathon. I said, look at that, there's a Chevy Volt. And I said to the guy at the gas station, that looks better than I thought.
The Chevy Volt is a really cool-looking car. A lot of, very futuristic qualities about it. But if you're, into Italian style, Fiat 500s, check this out. It's got these cool little round headlights, and it's tiny. I don't know if you've ever driven a Mini Cooper, but it's actually 6 inches shorter than a Mini. But what they've managed to do with the Fiat 500 is imbue it with all the safety. So you've got 7 airbags. It's a fun-to-drive little car. It handles like you would hope an Italian car would drive. Again, 38 miles per gallon on the highway, 30 in the city. So great fuel economy, a lot of style, a lot of fun.
I was just reading this morning that Fiat's boosting its ownership stake in Chrysler, and they're hitting benchmarks. And if they can get a car that gets 40 miles to the gallon, they can go ahead and take 35% of Chrysler, as I understand it. So, they're quite interested these days in fuel economy there at Fiat.
Absolutely, they're inching forward. And selfishly, as a guy who's always had an affinity for Fiat, that collaboration between Fiat and Chrysler, as long as it brings this cool car here, I selfishly am on board. But before we go any further, we have to talk about the Nissan Leaf. This is really a vision of the future in that when you walk around to the back end, there's no tailpipe. This is a pure electric car. So, unlike the EV1 that you remember, coming out from, more than a decade ago, this is a 5-seat car. You can load the family up. There's room for groceries. It's a real runabout, except pop this open right here. You've got a charging port, plug it in, and 7 hours later, you've got a battery that's filled up and ready to drive. The EPA says it'll go 73 miles. on a charge, which is good if that matches your lifestyle. That may not work for everybody, but if you work within a certain radius of your home, 73 miles is adequate. And actually, it's a little bit more than that, depending on how you drive. If you drive like me and you're driving around on LA freeways, maybe it'll be a little less than that. But it's worth noting, 90-mile-an-hour top speed. So this will keep up with LA traffic. I proved that on my way here today.
Wow, you must have been driving at 2 in the morning then when nobody else was on the road if you go that fast on an LA freeway. We can go very fast to Kelley Blue Book. It's kbb.com, and they are recommending green vehicles, including the ones you just heard about and others too. Thank you very much indeed for that report. We're going to talk more about the gas prices, how to drive where you can perhaps save some gas, some tips coming your way shortly too. It's Michael Patrick Shields. By the way, Michigan State's Tony Bucefaro is named Michigan as Big Ten's Pitcher of the Week. Pistons lost their final home game yesterday in front of their new owner, Tom Gores. They'll end the season tonight against the 76ers. That'll be tomorrow night in Philadelphia. And Tiger bats were quiet yesterday. Rangers beat the Tigers 2-0. Maglio Ordonez could be sidelined for the next few days. Red Wings get started tomorrow, and the NFL and the players are going back to mediation. It's Michael Patrick Shields, and it's Tuesday. Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Gas prices are up. You're now paying perhaps $4 a gallon in many parts of the state. AAA's daily survey found the average price at $3.86, but that's just the average. It's hitting $4 in certain parts of the state. According to GasBuddy.com, the lowest you'll find is at the Sam's Club in South Lansing on Edgewood Boulevard, $3.62 a gallon. There's a Speedway on Saginaw and Marsh, $3.65. In Grand Rapids, the Admiral Station at Plainfield and Julia Street is $3.69. And the Marathon in Grand Rapids at Plainfield and Cheshire is $3.69. Highest prices, right back in Lansing, the BP in West Lansing on Saginaw Highway, $4.19 a gallon, and $4.09 in Harrison Township at South River Road and Jefferson, if you happen to be out that way. Will we have $5 gas by summertime? Nancy Kane from AAA told us she doesn't think so. Let's hope that's the case. And let's talk a little politics this morning. That's our family business. We do that right here in our American Metal Roofs studio, and you can find them at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. We'll start with State Representative Wayne Schmidt, the Republican from Traverse City. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Nice to see you here back at work in the Capitol. Frank Foster, the State Representative, the Republican from Pellston, is with us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
We have State Representative Chuck Moss, the Republican from Birmingham, on the other end of our line. Thanks for calling in this morning, sir.
Good morning.
And Mark Hornbeck is here from AARP Michigan. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Guy who covered the Capitol, covered politics, and now is with AARP. Where to begin? Let's start first with the kind of silly question of the day. Donald Trump seems to be polling very well in the Republican primary race. What does that do to you?
Makes me want better hair.
I'm
just.
Is that for real?
Mitt Romney's hair.
Yeah. No,
I don't go mine over. You know, what you see is what you get. So.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of him, though. I mean, he's all over the place.
He's got a lot of money.
His show, you know, it's great publicity for his show. It's great publicity for him. But he's in a no-lose situation for this.
But has it really come to this, Representative Schmidt, that we use the presidency as a marketing tool?
I hope not. And I just think he's out there. I mean, he's got certain business beliefs. Very popular, charismatic person. The shows, I think, as Chuck just said, you know, he's out there. Do I think he's actually presidential timber? I don't believe so. I think it's more of just getting his name out there.
Mitt Romney has kicked off his presidential exploratory committee. Because of his Michigan background, do we default to support for Mitt Romney, Frank Foster?
Well, we did last cycle, and Mitt Romney has been campaigning for, I don't know, the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
And Michigan is his home state, and he's got great name recognition. And to be quite honest with you, Mitt Romney at the top of a presidential ticket probably helps a lot of Republicans in the state of Michigan, draws out the Republican voters. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a good idea, but he's not the last one that's going to file.
Chuck Moss, the president, is quoted as saying that he misses being anonymous. He'd like to go to Central Park and spend the day people watching, and he's bummed out that he can't take a walk and not shave on Saturday morning and all that sort of thing. Any reaction to that?
Well, then he probably shouldn't have run for president, and he probably shouldn't have got elected because he's never going to be able to just walk anonymously in Central Park. John Lennon found that out. So I just, he's never going to be a private citizen again to the point where he can just walk anonymously. He's going to have Secret Service for the rest of his life. But I wouldn't mind at least helping him out on that, and letting him find another job at the end of 2012. But speaking of Donald Trump, Pat Paulson, the comedian, ran for president in 1968.
Yeah.
A lot of people between Nixon and Humphrey thought he might not be a bad choice.
Pat Paulson, I haven't heard that name in a long time. He ran every single time. And in fact, he used the presidency as a marketing tool. It became a long-running joke. That was his thing.
And he used to own the Cherry Capital Playhouse up in Traverse City, so we used to see him up there a lot in the summer. Oh, yeah.
That's right. Gary Austin, our anchorman, he's got a question for the state representatives, particularly Frank Foster and Wayne Schmidt. Gary?
Yeah, guys, this week we reported the state is looking at closing 23 rustic state forest campgrounds. And this could start as early as next month, but before anything happens, some state lawmakers say this ought to be done. This is unique here. Allow localities near these campgrounds the option to take them over if they'd like to at a cost of $1. But the agreement would be this: to have in place first a plan that would assure these areas would be kept open and in very nice shape. Wayne Schmidt, you're one of the key backers of this. It sounds like you guys want to move quick to make this happen pretty fast, maybe even by this summer.
That would be, I think, a great move. Working with Senator Casperson, of course, working with Frank Foster, chairman of Natural Resources Committee. I'd like to see it move very quickly. I think that the townships or whatever local unit of government, maybe it's the counties too, are in a unique position. These are rustic campsites. They don't need a significant amount of upkeep. They have either the jail crews, or we were talking, there's Goodwill. There's a variety of groups that could really step in and fill this void and keep it open for tourism, especially with the possibility of some higher gas prices. This makes vacationing up north and in the Upper Peninsula a very affordable option. Many people enjoy doing it. Plus, we own all of this state land. And talking with Senator Casperson and of course, Frank, the key is we've got to get people using it. The taxpayers have it. We've paid good money for much of it. Why not let them do it? If the state can't handle it, let the townships or the local unit run them.
Well, the campgrounds are a public good, too, and increased recreation, specifically in northern Michigan, the northern parts of the state, when fewer families are traveling outside of the state for their vacations, they're coming up to northern Michigan. We're actually having a lot of success in those parks, and I look forward actually to working with the department on this, but they're asserting that the inspection fees are too high and outweigh the benefits. But this public land is a public good, and it should revert back to localities who can manage it effectively. It's about tourism.
As I hear you guys say that, a word pops into my head: privatization. Do you think we could see more of this sort of thing in other areas?
I think you might see privatization in some areas, but it's really more along the lines of cooperation and collaboration. The state would, can still own this land, but if a local unit can run it better, maybe even if a private group could run it.
I think there's certain models in different states that we can look at where they've privatized certain services, like the representative said. But if a private service can come in, like a Marriott, and offer lodging or offer Wi-Fi, internet, and different amenities, we can privatize some of those services. And again, I think the DNR would be amenable to that.
Thank you.
Since we're talking northern Michigan and West Michigan, too, Governor Snyder has appointed the former Republican National Committee man Chuck Yob to the Mackinac Island State Park Commission. That's a pretty nice gig, isn't it?
That's a very nice gig. I'm glad I live up north, but if I didn't, I'd love to have the Mackinac Island Parks Commission appointment.
That would be nice.
That would be very nice.
Brady Hoke will join us tomorrow, the University of Michigan football coach. They're getting ready for their spring game. Also, speaking of banging heads here in the studio, Mark Hornbeck is with us from AARP of Michigan, and there's a coalition being put together now to try to get their voices heard with Governor Snyder. What's it all about?
Well, it's a coalition of folks who are affected by the budget, including AARP, the SOS, which is Save Our Schools, Save Our State Coalition, including school administrators, school board members, PTSA. The Michigan Municipal League is also part of that, as well as the presidents of the state universities.
We've seen teachers, gentlemen, this weekend in malls, sitting in malls, trying to let everybody know that they're They work more than inside the classroom. I think maybe we probably knew that, but desperate times for people in certain situations call for desperate measures. They're desperate to get their voices heard, are they?
Well, I don't think it's a question of being desperate. I hosted a town hall just last week in Traverse City along with Senator Howard Walker. We had more than 400 people show up, which is pretty darn big. And amongst most of my colleagues, that's probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Their voices are being heard. We know that with the long-term unemployment that we've had in the state, the loss of jobs, nearly 1 million jobs, these are some very difficult times. We don't have the same revenues coming in. And until we can get the state back on track and producing private sector jobs, letting businesses create jobs, until we can get that turned around, we're going to continue to see some tightening of our belts. That's all there is to it.
We're well aware, I think, of the hard work that most teachers put in. And I think specifically in our areas, the teachers work well within the communities, and they're part of the community. However, stunts like gradings and things like that, I guess they're just for publicity. And if they have to do them, they have to do them. I agree with Wayne. I did 7 town halls over break, and 60 to 70% of everyone that showed up was either a teacher or a senior. And it's because those are the most divisive parts of this budget, and we're working through it, and at least we're listening.
We will get to the specifics in 4 minutes when we get back with Mark Hornbeck from AARP of Michigan. They're going to hold public forums in dozens of school districts across the state between April 14th and 21. They want to educate citizens about how the governor's plan will affect them. That's coming up in 4 minutes. George Volman will be with us, too, and tell you how you can increase your gas mileage, maybe with a lighter foot, maybe with air in the tires. He'll give you all the tips since gas is now, in many cases, more than $4 a gallon. It's 18 minutes after the hour. Michael Patrick Shields in the American Metal Roofs studio. You can find them at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Find us right here in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building, just a couple blocks from the Capitol, and all across Michigan on the radio station you're listening to right now and on Fox 47 television in the state capitol. We're back in a flash. Before we get back to the politics, let's get George Volman in here. He's the Automotive Insider. You can find him at theautomotiveinsider.com. We're hearing now that in Jackson at the Citgo, gas is $4.25 a gallon. I don't know how you stay open doing that, George, but the fact of the matter is we're stuck now. What do we do about it? Are there ways that we can increase our gas mileage without, trading in for one of those smart cars?
Well, I'll give you 3 tips. I mean, I was amazed to see gas prices jump 30 cents in one day, which tells me that this is really not a marketplace that is free. But that's neither here nor there. You had mentioned in the previous segment, filling the tires up to max, and remember that the maximum tire pressure is actually on the sidewall of the tire more so than the plate card that the manufacturer puts on the door frame. That should get you 1 mile per gallon. They're going to get a benefit right now of coming out of the winterized fuel, which saves them 2 miles per gallon about, because when they have to put the additives in to keep the fuel to flow when it's cold out, that cuts your fuel economy. And, of course, take your foot off the gas pedal. You'd be surprised at 55 or 60 how you can jump at 10 to 15% just by doing that. Of course, you're going to get run over, but...
Well, we have state representatives going back and forth from Traverse City and Pellston, and Mark Hornbeck making his way all around the state. You're going to be watching your gas gauge this week too, right?
Is it true that you can hypermile at 65 and get a little better gas mileage?
What's that mean, hypermile?
Well, I've heard the term hypermile, which means if your maximum speed to gas ratio or whatever is 65 miles. Is that true, Mark?
George?
Yeah, 55. I mean, we've talked about 55. This before. Mm-hmm. Actually, 55 miles per hour, which was the speed limit during some of these energy crises. The government actually got that right. That's where you get your max. But milers will speed up and they'll coast down hills, shut their cars off. They'll do a lot of stuff to try to maximize the mileage out of a car. And I thought, and of course, if it gets to $5 a gallon, it might end becoming an Olympic sport.
Yeah, see how much you can get. That's a pretty good idea. All right. Thank you very much, George. We'll keep in close touch throughout this period, and the automotiveinsider.com is where you can find him. He likes to and some of those cars have that readout that shows you how much you're getting at the moment. Then it becomes like a game.
It's never as much as the factory tells you, though.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Tricky.
I love my Chevy pickup truck. It's great, but it's not the world's best gas mileage.
Mark Hornbeck, representing AARP. You talked about the coalition when we were in the last segment that is going to get together. They're going to have public forums, dozens, I understand, all across the state between April 14th and 21st. What is the key message that you want not only the public, but, for instance, legislators to know?
Well, it's more geared toward the public. I think the legislators already know pretty much what's going on. It's going to be an education forum, letting folks know exactly how the governor's budget proposal might affect them, their schools, their communities. From our standpoint, I think seniors are pretty well aware that there's a pension tax proposal as part of the governor's plan. What they may not realize is that that increase in revenue that they would be providing is basically going to go for a business tax cut rather than better schools, better universities, better local governments, local roads, and that type of thing.
Any response, gentlemen?
Well, I think it's overall, Governor Snyder's proposal is to make Michigan a much more attractive place for business. Because as we've said before, that if we have those private sector jobs coming back again, if we have small business, medium-sized, large businesses bringing those jobs back, that will in turn produce more wealth and more tax revenues for the state. You look at it when we've lost...
That's a tough sell to a senior citizen, though, isn't it? When you're talking about a long-term process, are you not?
It is, but I know that talks continue to go on to make sure that Governor Snyder's proposal, and this is the job, of course, of the legislature, is to review all of those things. So we continue to discuss with the governor's people. I know that the tax policy, commerce, the Senate, they all continue to meet. They keep discussing things as to how to maybe make this a better plan. So right now, that is exactly our goal, is to take some of the sting out of it. What we come up with, we're still shooting for May 31st to have the budget done. So, and I think we're going to pass out a lot of our budgets out this week, appropriations budgets, so I'm very excited about that staying on course. But it's still going to take some time. But right now, unless we get the private sector moving again, and we're seeing some small glimmers of hope, we're never going to get out of this.
But we talk about job creation. The administration has acknowledged that the business tax cut doesn't guarantee job creation. In fact, the House Fiscal Agency Director just recently indicated that the same thing. There are no guarantees that, and in fact, a lot of the businesses who have been on this roller coaster lately, a lot of them may be more inclined to hold on and save up for the next down cycle.
Well, but we know what we've been doing for the last 8 to 10 years, and that hasn't been working. And so the difficulty is that we have to change.
We hear this talking point a lot about how we're cutting taxes on corporations to defund schools and things like that. But with the governor yesterday, with Grand Rapids and the Chamber of Commerce, largely that money's going to pay down on our debt load. We've got a $50 billion some dollar debt load as a state, and if we ever want to increase our bond rating back to AAA status, get the big banks investing in Michigan, we have to be responsible. We can't run the credit card up anymore.
But only $200 million of the new revenue is going to go to help pay down the debt load.
No, it's 200 more than we've been paying. So,
yeah, and I assert there are no guarantees in the economy.
Yeah,
and if you were trying to elect a guarantee, well, good luck. But we're doing our best.
What sort of reaction do you get from people when you go out to these forums? What is their mood? I mean, Governor Snyder was elected handily, it seems like. Are they surprised now?
Well, speaking for our membership, we get a couple of different reactions. First and foremost, especially when the proposal was initially unveiled, we got lots of calls and emails from seniors who were ticked off that all of a sudden retirement plans that they had made based on the current tax scheme, now that was out the window, and they're going to have to pay taxes on their pension income, and they're out of the job market now, so they don't have the ability to go back and make additional money to offset this new expense. We also have seniors who say that we agree with the governor that seniors ought to pay their fair share, but they're under the impression that their tax increase is going to go to pay for better schools, better universities, better local police and fire protection, when that is indeed not the case. Under this plan, all of those areas will be cut.
Okay, there's another avenue we should probably take a look at is my demographic that is shrinking in this state. The 20-somethings that have either stayed to earn less money in this state, lower income jobs, or we've moved out of state. And you've got a growing demographic on the top end. We average 20% of us will be seniors in the next 20 years. And so that's a lot of folks, a big piece of your population that's consuming services. And we're shrinking in the middle. So I propose we need solutions. This is one.
Where can we get more information? Is there a website that has the schedule of the events?
Most of the information about the forums is on www.getmibudgetfacts.org.
Getmibudgetfacts.org.
Right. There will be, some of the forums that are scheduled will be on there. There will be talking points on there. There's a video that's now available on that website with several folks explaining what the governor's budget plan does, and local districts that decide to host one of these forums can use that as a toolkit to host the forum.
And getmibudgetfacts.org is nonpartisan?
It is. It's sponsored by the SOS Coalition, AARP Michigan, and others.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Travel safely and with light feet, I guess, when it comes to the gas prices. Thank you very much, State Representative Wayne Schmidt, State Representative Frank Foster. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Michael
it very
Patrick.
much. 31 minutes now after the hour. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Brady Hoke, the Michigan football coach, will join us tomorrow. The Secretary of State, Ruth Johnson, will be along coming up shortly. And we'll answer the question, too, is pole dancing going to be an Olympic sport? That's coming up shortly, too. You don't want to miss that if you're listening here. Mitt Romney, as I said, has made it official. It's not really that much of a surprise. He's decided to have a exploratory committee and run for president. He polls near the top or at the top of all the polls. Here's what Mitt Romney said yesterday in a video statement to supporters.
It's time that we put America back on a course of greatness with a growing economy, good jobs, and fiscal discipline in Washington.
NASA will decide where the space shuttles go today. This afternoon, they will name 4 places that will get the old orbiter. And one of them is Dayton, Ohio, perhaps. The other one is Chicago. So you may be able to get to see and up close and personal and touch one of the old space shuttles. France's ban on full-face veils, that's a first in Europe, went into force Monday. Anyone who wears the Muslim garb in public faces a fine of 150 euros. A Muslim property dealer urging women to keep wearing the veil if they want to has urged supporters to go to Notre Dame Cathedral in central Paris for silent prayer during the day, and he's also offered to help people pay the fines. France's 5 million strong Muslim minority is Western Europe's largest. Fewer than 2,000 women are believed to wear the full face veil. And now there is, this law that they have to take the veil off in public in France if they're going to do it. Police received a guide last week about how to implement the ban. They are not to remove the veils by force. The ban does not apply inside private cars, but reminds policemen such cases can be dealt with under road safety rules. So no wearing the full face shield in France if you're a Muslim woman. Unbelievable video of a super jumbo jet and a commuter plane colliding on the tarmac at Kennedy Airport this morning. They clipped each other on the taxiway there. Both planes were slightly damaged. One is an Air France Airbus, the largest passenger aircraft in the world. The other one just a little Comair commuter jet. And if you see them in the video that's been making the rounds, they look like 2 little toys smashing into each other. Winklevoss twins, speaking of toys, well, they lost a big stake in Facebook when they settled early with Mark Zuckerberg, and now the judge says they can't renege on the deal. That's it. They lose. Bart Stupak, the congressman, has joined the Baltimore-based lobbying firm called Venable LLP. He's a former state trooper, and he was 18 years in Congress in the Upper Peninsula there. And he's also a fellow at the Institute of Politics at Harvard University and the John F. Kennedy School of Government. A Detroit man survived a 14-story fall out of a window in the apartment on the east side, landed on his back in a landscaped area. They don't know if he was trying to jump or if he was pushed or he slipped and fell, but he's alive after falling 14 stories. Scott Pelley could be the new anchor for the CBS Evening News, and more of your Tuesday Morning with Michael Patrick Shields in 4 minutes. Who do you like right now in the Republican race for president and the race for the nomination? Would you vote for Donald Trump? Would you vote for Mitt Romney? Mitt Romney made it official yesterday. There's a big field of 8 or 9 potential candidates. Is there somebody that you like already? 888-900-9966 is the number to call. 888-900-9966. Right now we'll take your calls. Is it Mitt Romney? Is it Donald Trump? Is it Haley Barbour? Is it Mike Huckabee? Is it somebody else? 888-900-9966. Is it Sarah Palin? Let us know. 888-900-9966. The phone lines are open right now. The Pistons lost their final home game of the season, 110-101 to the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Palace. For what it's worth, Rodney Stuckey had 29 points. The Pistons will end their season tomorrow night against the 76ers in Philadelphia. And the Pistons owner-to-be, Tom Gores, from originally Michigan State University, was in attendance at the last home game. He says he's ecstatic to have bought the team, and he wants to make them winners. And so that Board of Governors in the NBA has to approve the deal. That should be finished by the end of June. Tiger bats were quiet yesterday. The Rangers beat the Bengals 2-0 in the afternoon at Comerica Park. Justin Verlander went the distance, pitched his 11th complete game of his career, but got the loss, giving up 2 runs on 6 hits. Boy, they couldn't get him any help, could they? Tigers hope to break their 3-game losing streak against the Rangers this afternoon. Brad Penny will be on the hill for the Tigers. Magglio Ordonez could be sidelined for the next few days. He's got tightness in his right Achilles tendon. And reliever Joel Zumaya resting his elbow again after he had some discomfort following light throwing. Is it going to be that kind of year for the Tigers? Austin Jackson hitting .205 is expected to be back in the lineup today. He sat out against the Rangers yesterday to work on his batting stance. At this time of year, you got to be kidding me. Red Wings will face off against Phoenix Coyotes in the first round of the Western Conference Finals. That's tomorrow night at Joe Louis Arena. Last year, well, they've met in that first round 4 times. If you can believe that. Last year, Detroit beat Phoenix. It took 7 games to do it, though. And the NFL and the NFL Players Association going to be forced back into mediation this week. They're at odds over revenue sharing, and there could be a work stoppage. Actually, technically, there is one already, but let's hope that maybe they can get that ironed out. The draft is coming up, too. Greg is in Lake Ogama, ringing in at 888-900-9966. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you?
Not bad. Who do you like for the Republican nominee for president?
Well, believe it or not, I like Haley Barbour. He's the straightest talker of the bunch. He'll tell you just what he thinks, and he believes what he says, and that's, I think, what a lot of people are looking for.
Haley Barbour, the governor of Mississippi, at one time was the head of the Republican National Committee. Governor Granholm herself has told me she considers Haley Barbour to be a dark horse in the race. And he is a straight talker. I saw him on with Chris Matthews on Hardball a couple of months ago. And Chris Matthews, Greg, said to Haley Barbour, how are you going to beat President Obama? You're dripping with Dixie. You come from the South. You're out of shape. And Haley Barbour said, Chris, don't forget to tell him I was a lobbyist, too. And you know what I mean? He just comes right out at you, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for out here. Republican or Democrat, we're looking for some truth, some straight talk, someone who believes what they say. Mitt Romney doesn't believe a word he says. He never has. That's why he's unappealing. And Sarah Palin and the like are just too radical.
I saw Robert Redford last night on Piers Morgan. Robert Redford, now, he was asked if Sarah Palin were president, what would he do? He said he'd leave the country. That's what he said. I mean, that's not
well, I don't think we'll leave the country, but we'll probably be planning for the next election.
Yeah, well, there you have. Okay, there's a vote for Haley Barbour, who it was in my book, because I spent a weekend with Haley Barbour and his wife, Marcia, by coincidence, in Mississippi a few years ago, and wrote about it in my book, Invite Yourself to the Party. He was very engaging. Well, they both were, really. A lot of fun. Celia is in Lansing. Good morning to you. You're ringing in at 888-900-9966. How are you? She's very quiet this morning. We've lost Celia, I think. We'll try to reconnect with her there. You can call us at 888-900-9966, and you can get us online anytime you want at MichiganTalkNetwork.com. MichiganTalkNetwork.com. All the interviews are podcasted there if you would want to hear it again, and you can connect with us by email. And we have a Facebook page there and a YouTube channel and all that stuff, and good old-fashioned email, too. It's MichiganTalkNetwork.com. if you want to get to us. mpsbigshow@aol.com is another way. We're totally wired. You can get us right now. You're watching on TV or you're listening right now on a radio station in Mount Pleasant, Petoskey, Traverse City, Hastings, Lansing, Saginaw, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, and St. Joe, Benton Harbor. We never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note. Shannon Doherty is 40. From Beverly Hills, 90210. Charmed and North Shore, and Brooklyn Decker is 24 today. Tomorrow morning, Brady Hoke, the coach of the Michigan Wolverine football team, will join us on this program, and we're going to talk with Mark D'Antonio, of course, from Michigan State coming up, too. Phone lines are open at 888-900-9966. We were to talk with Ruth Johnson, the Secretary of State, ringing in just a touch late here this morning, so we'll reschedule her for an upcoming program. 888-900-9966 is the number to call. The question next, is pole dancing going to be added to the Olympic Games? The answer in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields on Tuesday. Okay, just imagine this. You've got the Olympic Games, one of the most exciting traditional events every 2 years. And you've got these sports that can't make it in, like squash and cricket and baseball and softball, and they just recently added golf. It's very tough to be added to the Olympic Games. Equestrian events are in the Olympics, curling, and now maybe pole dancing. The founder of the International Pole Dancing Fitness Association says it's a matter of time when the Olympics will see pole dancing as a sport because people are doing it for fitness. And she believes Olympic recognition is only a matter of time. Could this be the new theme song of the Olympics? One of Finland's top pole teachers says pole dancing is going to be like skateboarding and snowboarding, two sports that got mainstream attention without completely abandoning their rebellious roots. Megan Dolby founded the company called Pinup Pole Dancing in Michigan, and she's on the other end of our line right now. Megan, good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
We're doing swell. Will we one day tune into the Olympics, you think? And well, should we see pole dancing in the Olympics?
Well, it's looking that way. I mean, it seems as if it's really going in that direction. If anything, pole dancing is becoming more mainstream. So it seems like there's kind of a growing following, not just in the major cities now, but it's kind of growing into other areas as well. And I definitely think that it should be, because it is very physical, and the people that are genuinely at the top of their game, so to speak, in this industry, they really practice for hours every single day. I mean, like professional athletes. So, I mean, due to the physicality and how hard one needs to work in order to get to that success level in that sport, so to speak, I think that it's qualified at this point, really, to be an Olympic sport. Yeah.
The training, I'm told, having never gone through it or witnessed it, is unbelievable. I mean, you burn a lot of calories with this sport, don't you?
Yes. I mean, it really, try to envision, if you can, Cirque du Soleil sort of people. I mean, they really, it is an art. I mean, they're using all of the muscles in their body, trying to suspend themselves upside down. There's a lot of flexibility involved, a lot of core muscles, ton of upper body strength. It's even painful, really, to hold on to the pole in certain positions. I mean, it's not as simple as everybody kind of just naturally would think, and so rudimentary. I mean, it really is a lot of skill involved. I'm sorry. I'm now in the South, you guys. The pollen down here is ridiculous to my place.
Casey Freelove is on the line with us, Megan. She's a friend of the program. And Casey, nice to talk to you again.
I know. I hope you guys are doing well. I miss my Michiganders so badly, you guys. You're the best.
Well, let me connect the two of you, because Casey, if I'm not mistaken, would you remind us before you talk to Megan here, you took did you take pole dancing lessons in Las Vegas? What kind of lessons did you take?
Yeah, it was called Stripper 101, and I was out in Vegas, and I did it. And let me tell you that some of that was the hardest stuff I've ever done.
So in
and you are absolutely right. It takes grace, it takes strength, it is very physical. It's not as glamorous watching it as it really is doing it.
Do you, after you took your Stripper 101 class in Las Vegas, did you feel qualified to climb up on the pole?
You know, I did. It was very strenuous while I did it, and it gives like a woman a sense of feeling good about herself, and it is very sensual. And, you know, I guess I would say this. I wouldn't consider pole dancing a sport, even if it went into the Olympics. However, because it takes all the strength and the grace, and there is a lot of work involved in it, you know, the blisters and the bruises and the 5 hours of practice a night, I could see it being something very competitive. But I think that it's going to take away that, you know, that image of the glamorous, sensual, sexy side. And I don't know if a lot of people are willing to give that up.
Did you find it difficult to cling to the pole?
Well, Michael, I will tell you that pole is very hard to cling to.
Okay. Megan Dolby, if you were teaching Casey Freelove right now to pole dance, what would be the #1 tip?
Just stay with it. It can be very frustrating, like anything else. I mean, it's almost like golf is a good comparison, because I know you're a golfer.
Yes.
You know, 1 minute you'll have a great trick, for example, you'll do a good job trying something, and then the next 10 will be bad. Same with golf swings, etc. You just got to keep practicing and keep trying, because, you know, just if you keep practicing and you keep at it, then eventually you'll get more consistent, and it will start looking better and better and better.
I think a bad pole dancing trick probably looks a lot better than a bad golf shot, if you know what I mean.
Well, I don't know. You can be surprised.
All right, ladies, thank you very much. That's Casey Freelove, who took Stripper 101 in Las Vegas and learned how to pole dance, and Megan Dolby, who founded Pinup Pole Dancing here in Michigan and really is one of the great young entrepreneurs in our society. Will we see pole dancing in the Olympics? Will we see pole dancing later today? I don't know. You decide. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Television viewers, thanks for being with us. Radio listeners, stay right where you are. We're back next hour with more of your Tuesday.